James Brown is a man's world. Well, let's readdress the balance here. Let's go back a few months, and there was a special luncheon which happens annually here in Cardiff. Women in Wales lunch, indeed, and it's organised by Save the Children, and it's all in aid of that very worthy charity indeed, and it's usually held in City Hall or places like that, but it does travel around a bit. And during the function, you get speakers, and I've had the great pleasure of speaking there myself, but also you have an auction and you have a raffle. And then, of course, people in an auction bid for something, and there are all kinds of prizes. And would you believe one of the booby prizes, I'm sure, was a visit to this programme. You could come in here and share a bit of serve yourself lunch, I have to say, in the BBC, and then you could have a little tour of the BBC around the newsroom and various things like that, the technical aspects, and then sit in on this particular programme. Well, the lady in question, I don't know where her mind was. Cathy Evans is her name, Duffy. Before that, and she's from Glasgow originally. Cathy, you're very welcome indeed.
Thank you.
And congratulations on getting the sort of highest. I won't ask you how much you bid, in case we're all embarrassed.
You were priceless, absolutely priceless.
Oh, that's the correct thing to say. Absolutely correct thing to say. Now then, it's taken us some time to organise this, and you have managed to come in at last, fair play. But I wanted to sort of concentrate, because having talked to you, you're fascinating in yourself in so much that, we often talk about the crossroads of life and these opportunities and those wanderings that you do. You come to the crossroads, there's an opportunity left or right or centre. They present themselves and you're not sure which direction you should take. Now, I was right in saying you're from Glasgow originally.
That's right, yeah.
But you became, which is a fascinating thing, one of these sort of managers in Britain of Lufthansa, the German airline.
That's right.
National airline.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
How did that come about?
How it came about? Oh, really interesting, because I was just living at that time in Ayrshire, just outside of Glasgow, and I worked in sixth form. I went for the school holidays. I went to a place called Arica, sort of the foot of the Highlands, and a German family came in. And
were you working as a waitress?
I was working as a waitress, yeah, right. And we did a bit of everything, really.
Yeah.
And this German family came in one day, and this young guy just kind of took a shine to me. I was a bit of a spotty girl. I couldn't understand why. And so in the end, he asked me out, and I thought there was no way I could do that, because my mum would have a fit,
Exactly.
So I said to him he could write to me, and I thought no harm could come to me. And so what happened was he wrote to me, and we started to talk, and he said, what do you want to do when you finish your education? So I said, well, I'd like to teach business studies, as I always loved anything to do with the business side. And then he said, I said, I work for an airline. And he said, I work for Lufthansa. And he said, Lufthansa's going to open up in London in 1970. So he said, why don't you apply? And that's what I did. And I came down, I flew down for the first time. I was an only child, and came to London, and I got asked 4 capital cities of countries I hadn't actually heard of, to be honest, but I still got the job because I could always talk. I couldn't do anything else.
But you rose to fairly high ranks in Lufthansa.
Yeah, in Lufthansa I joined in 1970, and I became passenger handling manager there, so I was in charge of the Lufthansa ground staff on the passenger handling side. Of course, everything then was no computers, everything was manual. Became also handled, I was part of a team for a hijack that happened at Heathrow as well in those days.
Say it again. You're part of the team to deal with hijack.
Yeah, we did. We dealt with the hijack.
Good grief! Right.
We did. It was a flight from Hamburg to London, and it was part of a team. Where we had to deprocess the passengers coming off that flight, and it was in the days of the Baader-Meinhof.
Yes.
So everything was very strong. So dealt with that, and then in 1985 I moved to Bristol, was then regional manager for Lufthansa, and switched to sales, PR, marketing, and everything along those lines.
Right, and you met some people, influential people on these aeroplanes.
I did. I met some very influential people, yes, because part of my role then moving to the West Country and to Wales was part of being a member of the Anglo-German Society and dealing with some of the politicians. And I was invited to a dinner at the House of Commons. And there I made some comments in front of some politicians, and I was invited to be a member of the House of Commons Ladies Dining Club.
What were the comments?
Well, it was Dame Angela Rumbold and Elizabeth Peacock, and the Home Secretary of the time was there, and his name eludes me, I'm afraid. I'm sorry about that. And it was about acceleration into the police force, and I kind of said I thought it was good to come from the grassroots, even though you may have had a good education.
So there was talk about acceleration at a higher rank into the police force.
Exactly.
So you think it's good to start start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah, but or to at least to know, even if you've got that education. And Dame Elizabeth Peacock said to me, "Alas, we need girls like you." And so I became then a member of that. You didn't have to be of any party. You could, as long as you were interested in politics.
So what was it called?
The House of Commons Ladies Dining Club.
The House of Commons Ladies Dining Club?
Yeah, and through that there was regular dinners up there, so you met Mr Heseltine and politicians of the day, because Mrs Thatcher had just left office then, and Mr Major was the Prime Minister. And
you tapped him?
As a result of that, I got an invitation, along with many other women. I wasn't the only woman, unfortunately. I was invited to number 10. I've still got my invitation. I think it was 1996. And I walked up the stairs of number 10 and walked into this grand room. You're on your own at that point. Shook his hand and went off then into another part of the room. But I was very concerned because I'd flown down from Glasgow, and I'd bought a new outfit, and I thought, if I go back to Glasgow and say that, they'd asked me, did I speak to him? So I decided that he was surrounded by all these ladies, so I kind of went on my tiptoes, tapped his shoulder, and I said to him, it might be in your interest to speak to me, as you don't actually have many you've no seats in Scotland at that time. So I said, maybe you should speak to me, and then I can at least say, you spoke to me when I got back. And he was very gracious, actually, he did. And he said, hope one day that they would have some politicians up there.
God, extraordinary.
Yeah, so
and then, am I right in remembering that it was Lufthansa and all these people you met? Mr. Gorbachev, you mentioned.
I did, yeah. He was on. I used to write programmes for inaugural flights that I used to take all over the world, because part of the great thing about my job was travelling all over the world. And on one of the flights to Moscow, he was actually on that flight, and he was just 3 seats ahead of me. And I had the opportunity to speak to him, and I asked him if he would sign some things for my group. And he was with his wife Reza, and he did, and he was very, very, very nice. And it was wonderful.
And then, am I right in remembering as well that it was the first Iraqi war then that changed things in terms of the number of flights and so on, stoppages here, and
that's right,
gave you a new direction in life?
Yeah, because I was in Glasgow then. I'd been in London 15 years, and then I was in Bristol 5 years, and then I went to Glasgow in 1993. And in 98, basically our office closed there because of the Gulf Wars. A lot of the flights were affected. So they asked me a few things to do in London, but I didn't want to go back to London. So basically I took a package, and I thought, what will I do now? I mean, at that point I was 48, 49 years old, and it was a real turning point. So I came back to Penarth because, as I said to you earlier on, I've got a Welsh child, a Scottish child and an English child.
You missed out Ireland.
Missed out Ireland. Bit too late for that, I think. So in the end I thought, right, and I had an opportunity of taking on a baguette and sandwich shop in Penarth.
Baguette and sandwich shop, right.
Because I thought, well, I can do that. Right. And I built all that up, and I had to have a couple of operations, so I had to sell that. But because I had that shop, that led me into other opportunities. I've been headhunted, and I helped set up another business in Penarth for another couple of people. And that then took me into helping set up businesses for some other people in general, which I absolutely loved the challenge of and have thoroughly enjoyed. And from there, I also then became... I had to be FSA qualified to help in another business, so I had to sit all the financial exams. And then I was also, for 2 seasons, I was tour manager for Great Rail Journeys of the World.
Great Rail Journeys of the World?
Yeah, I did that. And I'm still on their books, but at the moment, because I've taken up the business I'm in now, which is, I've now got a fashion accessory shop in Penarth.
Did you know anything about fashion and accessories when you went in?
No, nothing at all. I just really like fashion and accessories, but decided that I had that opportunity, and it's been wonderful. But I think the great thing that I learned from it all was that, I never would have thought, at that age, that I could alter my path so much. And in altering my path, I've managed to, do a lot of new things, and probably face different fears that you might think you can't do these things, but it's quite good that you really can, and it's amazing what you can do as you get older.
Well, your tales about what happened during your tenure and your years in Lufthansa are extraordinarily interesting, but this other aspect whereby you changed direction several times, and you were 48, 49, and then beyond that in the other changes, and I like the phrase you used as well, because sometimes you have these fears of what might happen, but you say, well, change when it comes, and if it's inevitable.
Yes, well,
embrace it.
Really, I
Embrace
do,
it.
and I have to say, if I keep as I'm going, I'm 62 this year, so I hope that maybe I have some other challenges. I just always think I don't have quite the same time ahead of me as I have behind me, but I still really love to do new things.
Absolutely. 62, that's the new 49.
It is, definitely.
Yeah, exactly right. It's the new maths I've discovered. That's 49, that is.
Definitely.
If you're comfortable with that, you stick.
I certainly will, Roy.
Yeah.
Certainly will.
Well, Kath, well done on sort of bidding to such a hugely high level, we'll pretend.
Just, I have to say a real thank you. It's been a fantastic day. It's been great having the conversations with you to try and get here, and to the team that I've met in the background and also in the newsroom. It's been fantastic, and it was well worth every penny and more.
There we go. Oh, well worth it for, Save the Children as well.
Yeah.
Kathy, continued success to you.
Thank you.
Whenever
Thank you
the
very
next
much.
door opens, you flash through it. You know,
I will
you'll be fine.
Thanks, Roy.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
James Brown is a man's world. Well, let's redress the balance here. Let's go back a few months, and there was a special luncheon which happens annually here in Cardiff. Women in Wales lunch indeed, and it's organised by Save the Children, and it's all in aid of that very